It's always wild to me to see the dumb stuff that's posted on Twitter. People attacking companies for not wanting to become a group of activists. Companies trying not to get canceled. People screen capping things to make companies look bad. I mean, the list never stops growing. And a company that's been the talk of the town for the past few weeks has been TSR. Now, I wasn't actually keeping up with what was going on with TSR games, but they have taken a ton of heat over the past week or so after the son of Gary Gygax, the man who created Dungeons & Dragons originally, did an interview and didn't say everything the woke Dungeons & Dragons crowd wanted him and TSR to say. Even though Gary Gygax did pass away in 2008, SJWs have basically canceled him, said that all of his work was trash because he had certain political opinions they don't like. So of course, because his son is associated with TSR again, people are trying to get the company to slip up on social media and simply to get TSR 2020 canceled. They have been standing firm on social media with the approach that games are escapism and they're not going to be forced to make political statements. So I want to start off with this Reddit thread kind of explaining the different TSRs just so you all understand. So TSR 1973 is the original company which created D&D and was later bought by Wizards of the Coast, itself picked up by Hasbro. TSR 2011 was registered by Jason Elliott after the trademark for 73 lapsed, and it formerly published Gygax magazine, and of course it published a few products, most notably the current incarnation of the top secret tabletop RPG. And TSR 2020 is run by a few different people, including Ernest G. Gygax Jr., and it was formed when Jason Elliott of TSR 2011 apparently missed a renewal filing for the TSR trademark, and he now licenses the trademark from TSR 2020. And Ernest G. Gygax Jr., aka Ernie Gygax, is Gary's oldest son from his first wife, and TSR 2020 is currently preparing to release their Giant Lands TTRPG. So there are a couple of TSRs that are kind of being thrown around right now, and we are going to be talking about the 2021, the current TSR. It's a little bit confusing, so I thought that we would get that out of the way because there's a lot of people referencing a bunch of different TSRs, and it is really confusing if they're not specifying them by the years. But it says got all that because that's the backdrop. So the drama comes from about a week ago when Ernie Gygax gave an interview on the Live from the Bunker YouTube channel, and Geek Native summarizes several points here, and this is why people are upset. This is why TSR is currently being canceled. So he had said TSR has been gone. There's a ton of artists and game designers and people that play, and recently they were dissed for being old-fashioned, possibly anti-modern trends, and enforcing or even having the concepts of gender identity. And he continued on to say, I would hope so, but they, Wizards of the Coast, just put out a big disclaimer recently trying to divorce themselves from the ethics and style of play that was involved in the origins of the game. They're basically trying to say, we're a better company and a better type of person than those who started playing. At least that's somewhat of the impression they've given, and please switch over and be part of the new wave. So this is the statement that he was referring to. It says a disclaimer has been added to several legacy titles on our partner distribution sites. We'd like to talk about why we've added these disclaimers, what it means, and other steps that are being taken to address a legacy of ethnic, racial, and gender prejudice in some old products. Now, Wizards of the Coast, like I'm sure a lot of you know, is a pretty woke company. They are all about changing things to be more sensitive to readers and be more with the times, and because TSR 2020 won't come out and say we'll do anything to please the outrage mobs of social media, the mob is doing everything they can to get this company canceled because they feel like with Wizards of the Coast they've won, and they don't want another tabletop company coming into the scene and not bending over backwards to be inclusive. So TSR 2020 is basically being canceled for saying they're going to focus on making games and not being activists. So I wanted to head over to a couple of social media posts that they've made addressing a lot of the hate that they've gotten, a lot of the attacks that have been going on. So this is the first tweet that I'm going to start out with. They had said, "We are intolerant of hatred of any kind from all sides. All players are welcome at our table. Thanks to the role-playing game, we have a deep commitment to diversity and inclusion." And of course, there are a lot of people supporting them, saying, yeah, I mean, no one should want to tolerate hate, but there are a lot of people commenting, you're not doing enough. You need to make better statements. We're going to boycott your company and your products. We are not going to support you because you are not doing or saying enough. This is why you can't give SJWs an inch or they try to take a mile. This company is saying we are intolerant of hatred. We have a deep commitment to diversity and inclusion. Yet there are still people commenting on all of their tweets, trying to pressure them into making statements they want to hear. If we scroll down, there are a ton of people attacking them still. They said, "Could you explain this then? I know this is from the museum and not you, but you do retweet the museum and share the same branding and leadership team. What offensive content do you anticipate appearing in this revival of the TSR brand in games played under that brand?" There are people saying things like it's not the old days, casual racism, homophobia, transphobia, and ableism do not fly anymore. You need to make a clear statement of solidarity. They literally came out multiple times saying we have a commitment to diversity, inclusion, and we are intolerant of hatred. But of course, these people are only seeing what they want to see. They want this company to bend over backwards for them. Now here's a big tweet of TSR's that blew up. They said, "In today's hyper-polarized culture, we have a firm commitment to keep gaming fantasy, and we invite you to escape with us." And I personally think that this is a very simple yet amazing statement. They are basically saying, we don't want to be activists. We just want to create games for people to play, and we want to keep gaming fantasy. And I think that this is an amazing statement, and there is a ton of support being shown to them on this tweet thread. But there are, of course, a lot of people who disagree with them, who are saying you're not doing enough, like a writer at EA BioWare. He said, "You don't own gaming. You don't own fantasy. Somewhere along the way, they outgrew you, and some of us grew along with them. Our table holds a lot more than yours." And they're, of course, being ratioed. There are 600 likes on this to 1.1k comments, and people are saying things like, "Our table holds a lot more than yours. A table that was built back when BioWare was good and not manned by writers so poor that the last hit from the BioWare team is remastering a decade-old RPG series." I mean, what a freaking burn. People are saying, LOL, a BioWare writer. I wish that BioWare was still a good company. I'm not gonna rant about BioWare, but yikes. BioWare is so bad now. They said, "Imagine thinking after the shit they've been shoveling out the door for over the last decade, someone should take gaming advice from them on what's the right way to do literally anything." People are, of course, being very supportive. Like I said, this tweet is getting ratioed, the one from the EA BioWare writer. A lot of people are just laughing at him, basically saying, no one is going to take advice from you. I personally don't know why fantasy is such a bad thing. I don't know why people attack fantasy now. Like, oh my gosh, even though it's fantasy, that's not an excuse to not try to be more inclusive and diverse. This company has came out multiple times saying they still care about, diversity and inclusion. And someone had tweeted at them, "You say that like it's a bad thing. Spitting on dead bigots is good." And TSR responded with saying, "This is exactly the kind of folk we're dealing with here. Gary Gygax was not a bigot. He was, however, a product of his time, his statements from the past, and his products are not ours. We do, however, love him dearly and will not tolerate this sort of behavior. TSR, you cannot make statements like this because you're saying he was, however, a product of his time. You are agreeing with the SJWs about something, and if you give them an inch, they will take a mile. I don't care. If someone does believe that Gary Gygax was this or was that, they're allowed to have their opinions on him because these people are not ultimately going to listen to whatever you say, TSR. Do I agree with everything Gary Gygax said or voiced his opinions on? Hell no, but I appreciate the game that he made and all that he did for the industry, and people are commenting the same thing that I'm saying. Do not give these people an inch. It is a losing strategy, and it is so incredibly true. They will never be happy no matter what you say. But Going to another tweet that they made, they said, "We here at TSR are very passionate about gamers and gaming. We do not mean to offend or attack anyone and appreciate all of the feedback we've been getting from fans near and far. When confronted with disinformation, we have defended ourselves, and our message is very clear and always have been." And now apparently TSR is banned from Gencon, and tons of companies are throwing TSR under the bus so they don't get canceled. I mean, you honestly can't make this shit up. Gencon is banning the son of the man who created D&D and the whole damn convention. So I guess we'll start with the Origins Game Fair post. They said, "We're aware of the appalling statements published by TSR Games and their founder. Gamma does not condone nor agree with any part of it. We pride ourselves on supporting and promoting inclusivity always. Our motto is a game at every table and a table for everyone. Transphobia, racism, and sexism will not be tolerated, and that means that TSR is not welcome at Origins Game Fair, Gamma Expo, or at any event affiliated with our organization. These conventions that outright ban companies because they don't want to deal with a few mad people are pathetic and do not deserve our money." Am I surprised by this happening? Of course not. All of these conventions and these game fairs are ran by SJWs who just want to say, no, we don't allow specific types of people in our hobby. Gaming should be for everyone. Tabletop gaming should be for everyone. You shouldn't be saying, well, you know what? You can't because you made one tweet that we didn't like, or you made one statement that we didn't like, so now you're banned from our events. This is such a shitty situation. So Gencon had said, "Gencon is not associated with TSR Games, and we don't support their recent statements. While the foundation of Gencon is tied up with the history of TTRPGs, our goal is to build off the good, acknowledge the bad, and work towards a present free from racism, misogyny, and homophobia." And they, of course, responded to someone saying no, they don't have a booth, nor are they running any events, and they confirmed that they're basically banned by responding to someone saying, "We would deny them if they applied." Yes, this is such a disgusting and disheartening situation. Gencon is pretty irrelevant now, but it still sucks for TSR, and it sucks to see that a company is acting this way, a group of people running a convention is acting this way. It's such a shitty situation. All of TSR's links will be in the description in case you want to buy their new game, follow them on social media, or just in general support them. But that's all that I really had to discuss in this video. If you enjoyed it, please make sure to give it a like, share it, and subscribe to the channel. And of course, if you didn't, make sure to give it a dislike. I appreciate your support either way. But I will talk to you all again in the next video really soon.